Uh, hey there, Heather. Hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Cutter Top 10 sports video. And of course, rocking the Toronto Maple Leafs thing. Of course, it's the turtleneck. And if you're thinking you're wearing a turtleneck in May, well, yeah, I am. So, anyway, we're going to look at the top 10 NHL players to wear number 7. Lucky number 7, that is. 7 is a very fantastic number, and there's 10 legendary players that were the lucky 7 and all that. Ranking them is not the easiest thing, but I did. So here we go. Number 10 is Neil Broaden of the Dallas Stars, well, the Minnesota North Stars, / Dallas Stars. People are like, the Dallas Stars retired number 7 because Neil Broaden played. And it's like, who the hell is Neil Broaden? Well, Neil Broaden brought Minnesota some presidents in their North Stars days. The cat is trying to meow her way into the video. Sorry. Neil Broaden is kind of what they call the most underrated number of retirements in NHL history is Neil Brown's number 7 because he was big for Minnesota. I mean, he played for the University of Minnesota. He did play for the American Ice Team in 1980, and he did well for the North Stars and all that. Probably as good as Bobby Smith, but yeah, Neil Brown was key to the North Stars of the 80s and 90s before they moved to Dallas. Number 9 is Joey Mullen. Joey Mullen wore number 7 for a few teams. Well, he was once a St. Louis Blue, playing for the '86 squad that almost went to the Stanley Cup Finals but lost to Calgary in Game 7 of the Conference Finals. And then he was traded to Calgary in the Brett Hall deals that sent Hall back to St. Louis. So anyhow, the Flames kind of knew what they were getting with Joey Mullen, and it worked. Mullen helped the Flames win the Stanley Cup in 1989, and then a few years later, he ended up in Pittsburgh. I don't know by what means, but yeah, Joe Mullen ended up in Pittsburgh. I think it was the Yuri Herdina deal. But anyway, yeah, Joe Mullen became a Penguin, winning a few more cups, and actually became the first American-born player to score 500 goals. People think it's like Keith Kachuk or even like John LeClaire or Mike Modano, but no, it was Joey Mullen. He was the first one to go. I should have made Keith Kachuk number 10. But TLTL, too little, too late. But yeah, he was pretty good and all that. His brother Brian played for the Rangers among other teams. Number 8 is Paul. No, sorry, my numbers are wrong. Well, number 8 is Keith Kachuk. Why would we just make Keith Kachuk? I don't know why Paul Kariya's on my list, but no, it's not Paul Kariya. He couldn't wear number 7 for the Ducks. But yeah, we'll go Keith Kachuk number 8 on this list. Keith Kachuk has a good pedigree as Brady and Matthew Kachuk are hitting teams well with their playing and all that. But yeah, Keith Kachuk was an icon for the Jets / Coyotes franchise, wearing number 7, scoring 50-goal seasons, and being energetic and all that. He would play for the Blues and a few other teams, but yeah, he was known for his fitness stuff and all that. And of course, for the Kachuk pedigree, big. Number 7 is Ted Lindsay. Number 7 for number 7 is Ted Lindsay. Ted Lindsay was a very good player in the minors, in the Toronto St. Michael's major system. And then Detroit decided to sign him and knew they had something on him. Alongside Sid Abel and Gordie Howe, he was part of the production line. Or was it with Defecchio and Howe? But yeah, anyhow, Ted Lindsay was an important figure in sports. Unfortunately, Ted Lindsay got in trouble because he was one of the ringleaders to try to make a players' association in 1957, players' union, and everyone balked at it. Lindsay was punished by being traded to Chicago. Basically, every team sent their union reps to Chicago because Chicago had a terrible team at the time. But Lindsay took it as it is. He spent 4 years with the Blackhawks. I don't think he was with this team in '61 when they won the cup. Strangely enough, after 4 years away from the game in 1965, he came back to be a Detroit Red Wing and to finish his career as a Red Wing. So yeah, he was pivotal to the NHLPA. Number 6 is Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios didn't always wear number 7. He didn't in Montreal. He wore 24. But after they traded him to Chicago for the one with Denny Safard, although it was 10 years too late. Chelios turned it around. He wore number 7, and he was a major assistant captain for the Blackhawks, who were pretty good in the 90s, but playoffs were not the best. But Chris Chelios was an American defenseman who knew what to do with his stuff, and he scored back-to-back overtime goals to sink the Canucks in 1995. Too bad Chelios never won a cup with the Blackhawks. With the Red Wings, he did. He won a few, and he was still playing at the age of 46, which is pretty impressive because I'm 41 myself. So yeah, Chris Chelios doing his job. Number 5 is Rod Gilbert. Rod Gilbert was a pretty good New York Ranger. Skill and leadership made him a standout wearing number 7. Rod Gilbert unfortunately had spinal problems because of a junior game in Guelph. He slipped on an ice cream container, broke his back, and they had to do some spinal surgery on him, some fusion surgery. Thankfully for Gilbert, it worked out quite well, and he was a major part of the Rangers and all that. And his number 7 should be retired soon. I think it is retired as for Rod Gilbert's number 7. But yeah, he was big for the Rangers in the 60s and 70s, and he knew how to play it. Number 4 is Paul Coffey. Now, a lot of people say Paul Coffey shouldn't be on this list because he wears 77. That may be so, but he did wear number 7 for the Edmonton Oilers to start his career. And let's not forget, Kitchener! That's right, Paul Coffey is a former Kitchener Ranger. Bet you didn't know that. Well, Paul Coffey played for Sault Ste. Marie, and for half a season in 1980, he was a Kitchener Ranger and was drafted as a member of the Kitchener Rangers. So technically, he is a Kitchener Ranger, so stick it where the sun don't shine. But the fact of the matter is that Paul Coffey was a good defenseman for the Oilers. He wore number 7 as an Edmonton Oiler, so that counts. And when he was with the Oilers, he would be scoring goals, assists, and points left, right, and center, and basically set records, including goals in a season beating Bobby Orr's mark. Paul Coffey was good, and then he complained too much and then got traded to Pittsburgh in 1987, which actually worked out for the Penguins, giving him 1 cup in 91, and then he went to LA, Detroit, Hartford, Carolina, Boston, you name it, he went there. Number 3 is the first legendary number 7. His name is Howie Morenz. Howie Morenz was an early superstar in NHL history. I mean, in the 1910s, you had Joe Malone, and then in the 1920s, headed to the 30s, they needed someone big. Eddie Shore was good too, but Howie Morenz was big. Stratford, he was from Stratford. He played for Stratford. He actually wanted to play amateur for Stratford, but after the Canadians found out about his professional status, they basically blackballed him into accepting the Montreal Canadiens offer. So he did, and it worked out. He was the Stratford streak. He was a major superstar in the NHL. Everyone made it cool to wear number 7 on the roster. He did well for Montreal, and then he was traded away to Chicago, and then he found his way to the Rangers, but then the Rangers got rid of him to Montreal, and Howie Morenz was supposed to be back in form by 1937, but on January 8th, 1937, if I remember correctly, he was playing against the Red Wings, and he got his leg stuck in the foam boards, and Earl Seaberg, 200 pounds of him, crashed into his leg. Morenz basically thought he was done with hockey and all that. He drank himself badly and died of a broken heart or aneurysm, if you will. That was when the second NHL All-Star game ever happened in Howie Morenz's honor, all that. But yeah, Howie Morenz was a legendary player and all that. And, the first NHL player to have his number retired, and that was Morenz. Number 2 is Phil Esposito. Phil Esposito may have wore 77 for the New York Rangers, but technically he wore number 7 for the Bruins, so he counts. One of the most prolific goal scorers and a Hall of Famer. Phil Esposito came from Sault Ste. Marie to play for Chicago, wearing number 7 for them. But unfortunately, he would disappear during playoff time, if you will, with his point production. And the Blackhawks thought he was expandable, so they traded him to Boston for the one of Jack Norris, Pitt Martin, and I can't remember who the other guy is. But yeah, Norris didn't work out so well. Pitt Martin worked okay-ish. But yeah, that Boston-Chicago deal was massive. And Espo went to Boston. He would be known for being in the slot, trying to get the pucks all the time. And Montreal, and teams like Montreal and the Rangers couldn't get past him. Espo was paired up with Bobby Orr, becoming the best 1-2 tandem in the 70s. A couple of cups later, Phil Esposito was just fantastic. And finally, number one is Ray Bork. A lot of people think he should be disqualified because he's associated with wearing 77 for Boston, Colorado. However, he started his career as a Boston Bruin with the number 7. Know that. With a pick that the Bruins got from Los Angeles in exchange for Ron Graham, the goalie, Boston knew their first rounder needed to be big. So they picked up this guy from Sorel in the Quebec League named Ray Bork. Bork would wear number 7 for the Bruins. It was not retired for Esposito and all that. So Bork decided to wear number 7 and wore it with pride for 7 years until 1987 when they decided to give Phil Esposito the retirement number 7. It was the understanding, of course, that Ray Bork, once he ended his career, would be basically, the 7 would go out of circulation. However, Bork had other plans. On the Phil Esposito retirement night, he gave Espo his number 7, but then he took off his sweater, his Bork 7 sweater, to reveal a number 77 on the front, and it was just amazing that he decided to change his number to 77 and give Espo the last Ray Bork number 7 jersey around. And yes, he made 77 his own, and Boston retired it, and so did Colorado. So, it all worked out. He was definitely the lucky 7. Anyway, what I'm going to do.